Hello and welcome to Gypsy Kiss. I'm Shelley Carney. Today on Important Words, we're going to be talking about the geographic clues in the poem. Let's get started. So, focus on important words. We're focusing on the poem, right? The important things about the poem. And one of the important things is that it is a map. It takes into account geography as an important thing to know. So let's talk about the geographic clues that are in the poem. Definition of geography: the study of the physical features of the earth and its atmosphere and of human activity as it affects and is affected by these, including the distribution of populations and resources, land use, and industries. Or, in a simpler way to put it, the nature and relative arrangement of places and physical features. And I think that's the one we're mostly talking about today. Also, let's mention map. A definition of a map is a diagrammatic representation of an area of land or sea showing physical features, cities, roads, etc. In The Thrill of the Chase, page 59, we see this quote from Forrest, "And we got a map of the Gallatin National Forest that would really come in handy later on." Okay, map comes in handy and tells you where you're at, tells you how to get places, right? Page 60. Well, the first night we couldn't get the damn fire started and we had already used most of our matches, so we very wisely wadded the map and hoped that we would be forgiven that one small foible. So it came in handy as something to start a fire with, in this case. Moving on, page 81. At 12 miles a minute, the geography was changing fast and my brain was thinking and planning minutes ahead. So the lay of the land was changing quickly because he was flying very, very fast. So he had to think way and ahead before he would get to places. Much like a, fighter jet pilot or a race car driver or anybody who's going very, very fast. They have to think very far ahead. But the geography continues to change underneath you. Page 91. When we landed, the geography looked much different from what I expected and from what I had seen from a mile up. And we find that to be true. When we look at Google Earth and then we arrive someplace, it does look very different. When we go to Rio de los Pinos, it looks kind of dry and desolate, but you get there and there's a whole bunch of pine trees that you didn't really know were there until you get there. Geography looks very different when you get close up. From the book Too Far to Walk, page 265, Forrest Fenn's hidden treasure is somewhere to be found within the highlighted region of the Rocky Mountains on this map. The map that is included in the book Too Far to Walk includes the area of the Rocky Mountains where the hidden treasure is to be located. And we've recently been turned on to the map and atlas products of Benchmark Maps and have had fun partnering with them to produce this treasure map. Their unique styles of cartography speak to our shared spirit of exploration. I declined their invitation to put an X on the map, but will admit that it is there in spirit. So again, reiterating that indeed the treasure is located within the confines of that map. So treasure map, that's your treasure map right there in the book. Once upon a while, page 84, I was stationed in Lubbock, Texas, and a friend by the name of Bill Griggs and I searched relentlessly for the trooper's grave. The evidence showed it to be somewhere about 46 miles north of where I lived. With Captain Carter's original map in hand, I didn't want to carry a copy. Bill and I hiked on weekends. Back and forth across the grassy rises and rugged dips we walked, binoculars in hand. We were ever watchful for the errant pile of rocks that were deliberately placed to keep scavenging animals from digging. In this story, Forrest Fenn is talking about looking for a gravesite of a trooper who he had read a story about, and he wanted to locate the grave to pay his respects and just to know where it was, much like the story that he tells when he was in Vietnam and tripped over the grave marker and discovered there was a grave site there that was forgotten about. This seems to be an important theme for him. March 25th, 2013. This is CBC Radio As It Happens. Host says, well, the Rocky Mountains go into Canada, so there's a chance it's here? Forrest answers, you know your geography pretty good, don't you? He didn't answer the question, did he? He just gave a compliment or a shiny object. Oh, look over here. I'm not going to answer your question. April 3rd, 2013, New Zealand radio interview. The host said, I'm assuming that if a guy, an unemployed guy in a pickup truck, is driving across from Texas to have a look, you don't necessarily need local knowledge, local geography knowledge. And Forrest answers, no. The first clue in the poem is, begin at where warm waters halt. That's the first clue. If you can't figure that clue out, you don't have anything. Well, apparently you need a map, but you don't need to know the local geography. All right, September 17, 2013, from an article titled $5 Million Rocky Mountain Treasure Still Waiting to be Found by Margie Goldsmith. The map shows the area in which the treasure is hidden, says Fenn with a mischievous grin, but there's not an X on it. So the map shows the area in which the treasure is hidden. Once again, that's the map in the book, Too Far to Walk, that he's speaking about. That is our treasure map. November 2nd, 2013, Forrest Fenn at Moby Dickens. There's a major clue in the book. Again, he's talking about Too Far to Walk. There's the major clue in the book, but I don't think it will help you find the treasure chest. I'll tell you what the clue is. In the back of my book, there's a map. And I've said that the treasure chest is hidden in the Rocky Mountains. Here's a treasure chest. He was pulling out the map, so I believe he meant to say the word. Here's a treasure map of the Rocky Mountains. So this, if you knew where the treasure chest is hidden, you could find it on this map. The map stops at Canada. The Rockies keep going up there, but I said that it's in the Rocky Mountains, which include Canada. When this book was printed, I didn't realize that benchmark maps that made this map stopped at the Canadian border. So that's a clue, but it's not going to help you much. So there's your clue from Too Far to Walk, according to Forrest Fenn. Continuing on in Moby Dickens' interview, making plans is antagonistic to freedom. I used to tell a story in my Too Far to Walk book about Santa Fe. I had a Piper Malibu Mirage. It carried lots of fuel. It had a 43-foot wingspan. I could go out there all by myself, push the hangar doors open because I didn't want anybody to help me, crank that airplane up, get permission from the tower to take off and head north, and then turn my radios off. I had no idea where I was going to land, what I was going to see. I didn't even care. I had 600 or 700 miles before I had to think about that. I had GPS and I had maps. I'd find a little town up in Wyoming or Idaho or someplace in Montana and look on my map and see if they had a rental car or an airport. If they did, I'd land and rent a car and go out and sit by the lake or the river. A lot of pilots call these charts rather than maps, but Forrest usually tends to use words that are simpler, such as walk instead of amble or skip or wade or any other word. He'll use walk. It's more general, it's more simple, covers everything. Same with maps. It could cover charts that a pilot might use or any other kind of map. June 25th, 2014, Mysterious Writings. The clues did not exist when I was a kid, but most of the places the clues refer to did. I think they might still exist in 100 years, but the geography probably will change before we reach the next millennia. The Rocky Mountains are still moving, and associated physical changes will surely have an impact. If you are in the year 3009, it will be more difficult for you to find the treasure. most of the places the clues refer to. So the clues refer to places, and most of them did not exist when he was a kid. Or the clues didn't. Not quite sure what that means. Wait, most of the places the clues refer to did exist. Most of the places, but not all of them, apparently. Remember, that's several and few, and he's real particular about those words. So when he says most of the places the clues refer to existed, tells me that some of them did not exist when he was a kid. Some of the places didn't exist. I don't know what that means. They were somehow manufactured after he was born, or as he was an adult in some way. June 28th, 2014, Mysterious Writings. Question from somebody. Question, is the map that needs to be used to discover where warm waters halt found online or in paper form, or both? Forrest answers, come on now, Agent 777. A map is a map. The more detailed maps are most useful if you have the right map. But I'm not sure I needed to tell you that. So it doesn't matter, apparently, if it's an online Google Earth or if it's paper map or if you're using both. A map is a map. And then he says if you have the right map. So which one is the right map? Does that mean it needs to be the right geoquad map for that area that you're looking at? Or some other kind of map? Because he's very generalistic about maps. July 3rd, 2014, from Mysterious Writings. I was never close to my sister in later years. Part of it was geography, but we were philosophically opposite. I just wanted to point out that he uses geography in a very general way as well, much like map and walk. Part of it was geography. Part of it was distance, he could have said. Rather than geography. It didn't matter that, he lived in Santa Fe, which is kind of high desert, almost in the mountains. And she was maybe in the mountains, but that's a difference in geography. But the distance is what mattered. But he's calling it as geography. So that's interesting that he wanted to phrase it that way. He likes the word geography, I think. July 6, 2014, Mysterious Writings. There's no substitute for thinking and planning and observing and looking at maps, unless it's the desire to keep it simple. So maps are very important. August 12, 2014, Mysterious Writings. The only requirement is that you figure out what the clues mean, but a comprehensive knowledge of geography might help. Gotta know your geography. Never mentions anything but geography, right? February 4th, 2016, Mysterious Writings. I wish I had another treasure to hide in the Appalachians. The little girl in India cannot get closer than the first two clues because she's not boots on the ground. There are many disabled people who are deeply into maps and geography, and they are having a lot of fun. In other words, even if you cannot get into the Rocky Mountains and go boots on the ground, you can have a lot of fun thinking about where the treasure could be by looking at maps and studying the geography of the Rocky Mountains. February 23rd, 2016, Mysterious Writings. Read the blogs for entertainment in the poem like you were going to put an X on a map. The poem is a map. February 4th, 2017, Mysterious Writings. Fresh eyes and new thinking might provoke a winning idea. I would advise new searchers to look for the clues in my poem and try to marry them to a place on a map. It seems like the longer one thinks about the search, the more they complicate the problem. So we're to look for the clues in the poem and marry them to a place on the map. Each one of those clues is a place. February 2017, the question, can hunters, and this is Dale Neitzel's blog, Scrapbook 166. Question, can hunters really get to the treasure location with just a good map, the poem, and a decent knowledge of words? Forrest answers, I wrote the book for everyone who feels a sense of wanderlust. In your last question, if you change the last word to geography, my answer would be yes. So hunters can really get to the treasure location with just a good map, the poem, and a decent knowledge of geography. It doesn't have to be local geography. It just needs to be the geography that you're finding on the correct map, the right one. All right, April 5th, 2017, Mysterious Writings. I don't know how toponymy can help you at all, Chris. I had to look that word up. But if you knew the geographic location of each clue, it would be a map to the treasure. All right, that's so important. We need to remember this quote. This is one of the most important quotes here. May 4th, 2017, Mysterious Writings. Stop armchairing that thing to death and get out in the trees where the box is. But before you go, look at the poem as if it were a map, because it is. And like any other map, it will show you where to go if you follow its directions. The poem is a map. The poem is a map. The poem is a map. I guess we have heard that now, right? February 8th, 2018, and this is an article from Business Insider titled, "There's a Fortune Hidden Somewhere in the Rocky Mountains, and this millionaire is the only one who knows where it is. Read the clues in my poem over and over and study maps of the Rocky Mountains," Fenn said via email. "Try to marry the two. The treasure is out there waiting for the person who can make all the lines cross in the right spot." So you need to marry the poem clues to places in the Rocky Mountains by using maps of the Rocky Mountains. The Fenn diagrams. Fourth Q&A with Forrest Fenn. I knew all along where I wanted to hide the treasure, so I didn't need a map or any information to write the poem. Everything was in my head. It took me a while to get the wording exactly how I wanted it. Counting the clues and hiding the chest came later. It is not likely that anyone will find it without following the clues, at least in their mind. So he didn't need a map. He didn't need to look at a map. So he'd been to this place enough times that he had it memorized in his mind. He knew exactly how to get there, where to walk to, how far everything was, what was there, and he could write the poem without a map. So let's look at the geographical clues in the poem. Begin at where warm waters halt. Take it in the canyon down. Not far, but too far to walk. Put in below the home of Brown. From there it's no place for the meek. The end is ever drawing nigh. There'll be no paddle up your creek, just heavy loads and water high. If you've been wise and found the blaze, look quickly down your quest to cease. So, these are geographical places on a map. Where warm waters halt is a geographical location. For instance, Rio Rancho, which means scorched river. You can find that on a map. And take it in the canyon down. Vallecitos abajo, which means small valleys down, valley down, small valleys down in Spanish. So you can look on a map and you can find each one of these clues, or at least you can find the first two, because the little girl in India could find the first two clues with just the map of the Rocky Mountains. He didn't promise that she could find anything else on the map beyond that. So I found the first two clues on the map. Rio Rancho and Vallecitos abajo. Both are in New Mexico and not that far from where Forrest Fenn lives. About 90 minutes drive in a sedan from his home, as you can see here. There is the Rio Rancho and the Vallecitos de abajo. And Toby's going to make fun of my Spanish, but that's okay. And that's all you have to do, right? Just look for the geography that's in the poem, just as we were told again and again and again. And it's that simple. So that's all I have for today. Let's see, get my little screen going here. I hope that you got something out of this video today that helped you with your search for the treasure that Forrest Fenn hid somewhere in the mountains north of Santa Fe. And if you're not already in the member vault, I do hope that you will join us there, and you can get the download for today's quotes in that member vault with us. And also join us on Tuesdays and Thursdays when we get together and have discussions in our Zoom room. Thanks so much for watching, and for Gypsy's Kiss, I'm Shelley Carney.